meeting mastermind kickoff of what I have, kind of mashed around called Prime. And the reason I went with the word prime is I feel like a lot of us are in our prime and our prime time, and we have a lot happening, a lot going on in the real estate world. And aren't we lucky that we have so many personalities and generations to tap into? And I thought, wow, if we can maybe get something together, and I will say thank you to Dre Madden and Tamir Poleg and friends at Real for allowing me to technically add this to our Academy community group, which is awesome. And I've been talking to Karen Cooper and Patricia and Megan and Terry and so many of you, Sandra, Cameron, about we need a space for some of us that are midlife, a little bit older, 50, 60, 70 plus, whatever, um, and have a space where we can have conversations. So this is interactive. I'm not doing a training here today. This is all interactive, and, to talk about how we can stay competitive in this business, some of the stresses that some of us are dealing with that are a little different than maybe when we were 20 years younger or 10 years younger. I want to start off by saying thank you for everybody who helped share this and get this out there. It's going to be twice a month. I think that's plenty. There's a lot of other great things happening. Patricia Ann Young is the founder of the Women of Real, and she's got some good information, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. I see a lot of my Clubhouse friends. Yes, that's an audio app that many of us met back in 2020, and we are still on there, and we have found a great group of agents where we can share what's going on in business and also in our personal lives. I think it's a great de-stressor personally because we've cried, we've laughed, we've celebrated, we've masterminded through things, but now I feel it's prime time for us to have our own space at conferences and events. So I want to lead off with this. First of all, the theme today is old school meets new school, but every time we meet, I promise you we will have a theme and we will have some guests. So I want to pick everybody's brain. If you've got some guest ideas, send them over to me and I will invite them, or you can help me invite them. But did you know, and I think most of you do, but just in case, the average realtor is 56. I think it's actually about 59. And about 63% are women and the rest are men. And that we are not a minority in this industry. We actually are the biggest chunk of agents. But sometimes it doesn't feel that way. And I think part of it is, and I love these shows, is when you're watching Selling Sunset and you're watching, the HGTV shows, they don't necessarily highlight the midlife agent as much because, hey, let's face it, it is what it is. So I have some kickoff questions. I'm not going to go around and say introduce yourself or anything like that. You can do it in the chat, okay? But I have some kickoff questions because I think this is super, super important. And I think this is what comes into play, and we forget this. We get very into our businesses and then we forget, oh my gosh. So I'm going to lead off and say, my previous career was pharmaceutical sales and consumer health. I've been in sales my whole life, but those were the two biggies. So I was calling on food, drug, and mass accounts. And if you would like to in the chat and also just open your mics, mention what your previous career was, or if you're still like doing both right now, which some people are, nothing wrong with that, by the way. Let's talk a little bit about how to take that experience and flip it into our real estate experience. So that's my background, sales, marketing with those kind of companies. Who wants to add to that? Broadcast journalism, Patricia Ann Young. That's why she's so good on video.
Hey, this is Donna Ellis. How you doing, Michelle?
Hi, Donna.
Hey. I was a substitute teacher and I ran a daycare.
Oh my God. Wow, look at that. Also in pharma. I didn't know that, Karen Cooper. Oh, that's funny. Mortgage. Okay, mortgage. What else have we got there? Teachers make great realtors, by the way. People service. So the whole thing is we have experience on our side. right? There may be younger, newer agents out there, they may be slaying it on video, but we also have great life experience and work experience, okay? Is anyone here today new in real estate? And if not, if you want to just drop in the chat how many years you've been in real estate, that would be great too. I'm going on 21 years. There you go. And I was talking to, I think it was Patricia, the first half of my career in real estate, I was really more part-time than anything. And also Karen, because we were talking about stats and stuff. And that's a whole conversation that I think we'll have as one of our webinars, is talking about your stats in a manner that makes you feel good and not bad, that maybe you're not living up to this number or that number.
Well, yeah, Michele,
Um,
it's funny, Michele, you're such a pro and you have been doing this for so long. And it was, you texted me the other day and was
yeah.
talking about the numbers and promoting your numbers. And I think sometimes we all struggle with that imposter syndrome. And especially I think as we move through different phases of our career, you know, when I was 30 or 35, yeah, I was selling 60 homes a year, and my business looks very different now in a good way, but then we feel kind of bad, right? Because we're trying to compare ourselves against a ladder that we're not on anymore. You know what I mean? So I think we should all be proud of what we've accumulated and accomplished.
I think that's a good point. And being able to reach out to Karen and run this by her, it took a lot for me. And the way Karen handled it, which is so nice and kind, was like, well, that's imposter syndrome, you know? And it got me to thinking, like, what was going on the first 10 years that I was actually in real estate? And it's vastly different than the last 10 years, right? So thank you so much for letting me air that out with you, because I didn't know how to handle that. Um, is anyone here taking care of their parents, their aging parents? Quite a few of us, right? And I think that's something that's really coming to light more and more, what I'm hearing from my midlife friends. I know, Patricia, you're going through some things, and Megan, you were just out visiting your mom. Do you want to touch on that a little bit? Because I think that's the other piece, that now in the chapters that some of us are in, you're dealing with helping your parents.
It's 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 stressful, but it's also very much heartwarming and very I feel so much gratitude of just the years that my mom was a broker and pretty big wig up in Wisconsin in real estate for years, and I learned so much from her. And just seeing like how she financially put herself in such a great position to retire in Scottsdale. And now for the first time in a year, this past year, to now my brother and I step in and to start to be a watchful eye in the beginning of maybe not being able to make everything happen or remember what day it is, those kind of things that run in the family, Alzheimer's and dementia. And she's in excellent health. She's 81 and she's goes to Pilates every day and she's great. But I think mentally, I have days where my family comes first in real estate. Even though I've done this 35 years, I'm a cancer survivor, and I've always put my family first, and I've always made my real estate career be quality over quantity. And that has served me well through many years of ups and downs and raising three children that are all married. I have a son who's a Navy pilot now and deploying actually tomorrow. So, anyway, it's a
Hey, thanks
journey,
for
and I
sharing
feel the
that.
privilege to be able to now be the watchful eye in all the years that mom helped my family out. Now it's not a financial help, it's a watchful eye and it's a loving relationship that there'll be days I know ahead that will be hard emotionally to see And I know, Terry, you've gone through this, and there's several people here that are
Yeah.
gone through this, and it's not easy. And
That's
then when
why
you
I want
lose
to
a
bring it
parent,
up. Yeah, that's why I
my
want to
other
bring it up.
parent, my father was a real estate agent after he was a college basketball coach, and he was killed in a tragic accident in Baltimore while he was showing property. He was run over. And that was devastating to our family. So that's realtor safety awareness is huge in my book. And that's a whole nother, that's 20 some years ago that happened. And still remember that phone call to this day. And as real estate agents, we have to all stick together to help each other when you have a family member who's a real estate agent that is gone through a really horrible experience, and you can step in and help them in their transactions. And I had that, thankfully.
That's a great, great tip on that, because sometimes we don't ask for help, and hopefully some of the people around us, they're aware enough, like, and I've certainly seen all of us that know each other from Clubhouse in particular make phone calls. Just, it's an intuitive thing, and that's wonderful. And Terry has, her mom and things like that. And these are the things, like, so you're trying to balance, right? And again, all stages of life we're balancing, right? But in our stages now, we're balancing adult children, for example, aging parents, maybe your sandwich generation. And I know when I have stresses in my own world, and trying to, manage that, we put on this whole facade for everybody, and it can be really, really hard and stressful, So, if you're an empty nester, or you've had your kids move back in, or you're managing your parents, just know you are not alone. And this group is also part of, this is why I'm doing this. It's to talk business, but also so we have a space where we can have these conversations. And the other thing is, and Karen knows this because I spoke a little bit about this 2 years ago at her wonderful conference, Empowering Women in Real Estate, which is going to be next week in Ashburn, Virginia. If you are dealing with a family member who has an addiction, and here you are trying to work, and the chaos that comes with that, you're not alone. Trust me. It's I hate to say it's prevalent, but it is as prevalent can be, and it can really get in the way of you managing some sort of balance in your life because of the chaos. So we're here for you. So I wanted to kind of touch off on a couple of things about old school and new school. All right. So I'm going to throw out a couple things, and I want you guys to jump in too. And right before I do that, Patricia, do you want to mention what you have coming up too? Because this is very important, and it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Happy October.
Happy October. So we are doing an event for the whole month. The Women of Real are celebrating that it is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. I mean, it should be always every month, but this is the month that everybody can really put it out there, right? Wear pink, like I need a reason to wear pink. But anyway, we are doing a charity event that's going to be held in different states, where a group of women are going to get together, wear your pink, and where you're going to write cards and letters, and then have those cards and letters delivered to people that are getting chemo. Because what we've realized is this is such a hard, position for that person to be in, for their families to be in. And I know from just going through my journey, I'm sure Terry understands this, when you go into like Solus to go get your mammograms, people started doing the little notes around the mirrors, about you've got this. I mean, just from total strangers, right? But you stand in front of the mirror, you just see yourself crying, right? Because I mean, everybody needs that support, and everybody's had, if you haven't had breast cancer and just had a scare or had to get a biopsy, I mean, it's a lot to go through. It's a lot for you to go through. It's a lot to manage yourself, your family, your loved ones. So we are doing this event to basically bring some positivity and spread some love to women and men that are going through this. So if you're interested, reach out to me. We'll find out a group that's doing it in a different state. The women are doing it. All the state representatives are getting together. The one in DFW is going to be on the 17th. So if you're in the area, and we'll have more information for that. So yeah.
Thanks for sharing that. I appreciate that. All right. So here's a couple funnies that I came up with. Thank you to ChatGPT. So if you're a midlife person, you'll get this. This house comes with ocean views, a wine fridge, ... and a grab bar, so you can enjoy both safely. So, never had to use a grab bar until about a year ago when I fell and tore my hamstring. That was no fun. I like a little bit of humor, y'all. So that's kind of where I'm at. So let's talk little bit about old school. There's a lot going on with ChatGPT, with AI. There was a free webinar that's going on for 8 weeks, all about AI. And yet here we are talking a little bit about old school, new school, right? So I'll give you an example, like old school for me, as much as I love being on my phone and whatnot, I still want to print out my boarding pass. Why? I have no idea, but here I am printing out my boarding pass like an idiot, but I do. I don't know. I just do. But when it comes to real estate, there's some old school tactics that still work really well. And I want to hear from you guys what you're using. And then I want to talk about new school and how we can blend them together for today. So one of the old school tactics that I'm doing is I'm doing postcard mailings with the help of Mr. Cameron Boyd over there. So throw out some old school stuff that y'all are doing right now. And let's come up with the twist on old school, new school.
Handwritten cards do really well. I do them. And I'm going to tell you, people, and like even when I send my newsletters for like this month, I handwrite the envelopes because I think for certain for your SOI, that's extremely important. And every time I send a handwritten card or get that, I always get a response back. I get 2 or 3. So I think that because no one gets that anymore, it's, you know, it's a novelty. So I think handwritten is still good.
What else we got? Old school.
And Michelle, I'm still doing some old school, I guess, because I'm still a solo agent and I'm getting tired. I can promise you, it's tough. I'm still hitting elite, doing 61 homes by myself every year, and if I'm going to be
Bless you.
60 here shortly, and I'm like, what the hell am I doing? What am I doing? Maybe get on a team or some shit. I don't know, but I still do the old school because the new school is so like, which direction do you go? I was in that Jason Pantana stuff yesterday, and I was up till 11 o'clock last night. It looked like an addiction I had going. What am I done wrong? I even text Megan at her house. Look, man, I don't want to disturb you this late, but look, I'm lost. But the old school that I do is, I have these magnetic football when it's football season because I'm a big football person, so LSU, the Saints is the big thing here. And I actually get in my car. I mean, you can mail some. Okay, great. Everybody can mail one, throw it in the garbage. But I actually go to the restaurants and go to the places that I go to and hand them out. I actually put them on, go in the kitchen and put it on the refrigerator. So I'm still doing a lot of that little, old stuff. I still go, you'd asked previously to put in there what your occupation was. Well, I was a bar owner. I've owned 6 bars. Listen, I call it people service, right? People still got to cry in their beer, and you got to be I'm a non-paid psychiatrist trying to understand what their problems are. But I still go to the bar rooms and just go ahead and pass all that back out, because all those people buy. So that's the old school stuff I'm still doing because I can't completely wrap my head around this new school stuff.
I think it's overwhelming. And I embrace tech, I think, at a pretty good level for the age that I am. I'm 63. And even I'm sitting back going, I think I saw Patricia this weekend because I was in Dallas for a wedding and she graciously let me stay at her house and hang with her animals. And her husband did too, which was nice. We talked about this and it's like, holy crap, it's like a fire hose
Can I?
that just
On
isn't
Frederick
stopping,
28 called
so one of the things that you could do too, old school, new school, is, and of course I ran some things through ChatGPT, which I love ChatGPT, and said, okay, blend old school plus new school, the prime sauce. I love that, the prime sauce. Handwritten note plus a QR code to a video, maybe a market update or your beautiful mug on it, talking about a community. So you handwrite the note, but maybe you have stickers on the back side of that note. That would be a nice way to blend old school, new school. Cam and I were talking earlier, and he's like, you need to do a 1 to 2 minute video for something for probate. And I'm like, oh my God, that's such a great idea. So that's a nice way to blend it. Who's doing pop buys? Anybody doing Popeyes? Okay. Old school, you drop them off. Old school, new school, you drop off your Popeye and you do an Instagram story showing you do the drop off. I love that. Or like a, you know, throwing it or punting it, whatever, however you're dropping it off. How many of you are still doing networking events? Anybody doing networking like in person? Jacqueline, who else? Kim, Gail. Hi, Gail. Great chatting with you this weekend. Hi, Connie.
Hey,
Georgia in the house.
yeah, sorry
Hi,
I'm
girl.
late.
No, you're welcome. Oh, we're so happy to have you.
Michele, can I share a story?
Absolutely.
Absolutely old school, but new school. So a couple of months ago, I was at a real estate event and it was honoring top producers, and our team got a top team leader award. And so everybody wanted to come over and talk to us. And so out of that, one of the top women producers said, we need to put together an event for all the top women realtors, and have cocktails and just kind of talk about exactly what we're talking about here. And so we did that yesterday at her house. And it was along the Kings River, a little pretty, very pretty setting. And from that, so we brought my social media person out with us. My partner and I went out to this top producers women's meetup, and we brought our social media person out. We asked obviously for permission to do that. And so we got video, obviously, that we'll use somewhere, either in a podcast or some social media. I'm trying to figure out how to actually send it out there without it looking like we're trying to capitalize on a social event that was put together. But the group then decided to meet again next month. So we are putting together networking groups of women producers, and then leveraging social media, which will collaborate with whomever it was. We even did some interviews. We had little mics on us, and we even said, would you mind doing a couple of minute video with us, and that we'd love to share and post and then collab with you on their Instagram. So, and they were all about it. I think we came away with 4 or 5 pieces of content for our social media. So that was a great way of mixing old and new.
I love it. And if you're nervous about that, practice with someone. Just practice. Like when I got on Snapchat and met Dustin Brome and, all of my pals over there, Chelsea Pites and, whatnot, my kids were the ones who got me on Snapchat. And I'm like, you got to show me how to use this. That was like 2015, I think, something like that, 2016. And I practiced and practiced. And same thing with those mics. I think they're really small. Carry them in your purse. Have a portable tripod. Have 2 of them. One that you keep at home and one that's always in your car. And then that way, if something comes up, you're ready to go. And I think that's the new school piece, like just being able to pivot when you're at these events, because when you look at like some of that, Gail, which I think is brilliant what you did, I watch and I see like at every conference, and there's been some further together conferences and things like that. And people at those conferences carve out and block out time to do some content, whether it's B-roll, whether it's an interview with somebody, they find a quiet spot, or maybe it's in a hotel room, whatever, and they get this stuff done. And that's where we, as like older agents, we should be doing the same thing. Just do it with your pace, your style, however it's going to work for you. So who else has old school, new school? I'm going to call on somebody like a teacher.
Can I share an idea, Michele? Not
Yeah.
necessarily about the old school, new school, but I was having this conversation yesterday with my business partner, and you might have saw the thread on the chat, on our team chat yesterday. Because everybody's going to these amazing AI trainings, and my business partner, who's an amazing agent, she's been in business for 20 years. She, sells 30 million plus a year. And she goes to this event and she hears these people talking about AI and using AI to do this and using AI to do that. And I'm wearing the AI glasses and the thing that's recording. And she left feeling terrible about herself. And she's like, "Oh my gosh, I'm not doing enough." I mean, here's a woman who's doing incredible amounts of consistent business and is leaving these things feeling just awful. And what I said to her, and I think it's a good reminder for all of us, is there's a lot of different ways to do things and there's a lot of different ways to do business. And there's parts of AI that I love, but like I put it on my stories last night. I'm sitting on the porch looking at the sunset, and I'm like, you know what AI can't do? AI can't enjoy this. And AI can't have the relationships with our clients. And I think as we see more and more AI, and you look on your social media and you don't even know what's real, and is this real or is this AI? Like, I think we start to crave humanness. So, I love the idea of, embracing some of these tools and using some of these things to learn, but I don't think we need to worry about being replaced or redoing everything that we do to try to embrace that, because then there's just going to be another trend a couple years from now. So I'm going to do what I do. I'm going to continue to do what I do and what works, and I'm going to enhance it with the technology. But I'm not going to get all spun up over
Well,
what
you
other.
can get so caught up in it that you're not making any money.
Totally.
Because
Yeah.
all you're doing, and we talked about this morning in Clubhouse, all you're doing is taking these classes because you're so worried about being behind. We're always going to be behind. We're always going to be behind on something. And even that conversation that you and I had this past week, and I'm looking at, like, just for example, like some of the great agents, and sorry, I actually had done this before this, but Dottie Herman, Barbara Corcoran, Dolly Lenz, Jade Mills, Joyce Ray, like just some of the people who are 60, 70 plus in our industry. They're not necessarily, they didn't get there doing social media or AI, but they did embrace what worked to sell their properties. So you have to figure out a good mix that isn't going to drive you nuts. And I think I shared this with Patricia. I was watching a whole thing on Gary V the other day, and he's saying, I'm going to get this totally wrong, there's like something under Gen Z where they're totally like starting to go the other way, where they don't necessarily want to have so much social media. They want to turn it off because it's just too much.
I think, like we talked about too, and Karen touched on it, it is, we forget this is a relationship building business. People are going to work with who they love, like, and trust. Nothing is going to change that, right? So just a little bit of the nuance of, like, using some AI, or we do this, or doing video. And Michele and I were talking about, there's an agent in my area. We were shocked by this. Michele and I went and did we videoed a house, and I called and I said, hey, can we go in and video? Yeah, great, and everything. And when we got home, we were looking at his Facebook page, and he's got like hardly any social media presence. Okay.
Luxury, all luxury.
This guy has 85 listings. And what did I say, Michele? 27 are over 1 million. And his Instagram, he had maybe, he had a YouTube channel that only had like maybe 12 videos with 1,000 like people subscribed. And Instagram, he had 8 pictures with 479 followers. So right there, what does that tell you? Now, I would love to know what his marketing, like how he markets. I mean, he does a lot of, he's in my area, he does a lot of broker open, stuff like that. But again, it's the relationships. Now he's having an open house at that house, or a broker open, where come and, video the house, put it out. So he's using the agents, he's using us to promote his house. So but it's very interesting, because if you don't have that relationship with people and you can't talk to people, what's the point, right?
Well, and the fact that he let us come in, it was a $5.4 million luxury listing.
You should see this house.
Didn't even blink an eye. That tells you the reputation that Patricia has right there. That's because she builds that, right? So we need to remember to lean into this. Don't not learn some of this new stuff, embrace what we're seeing, but make sure that it works for you. And I'm trying not to lose sleep over it anymore. For a long
Michele?
time there I was. Yeah, go ahead.
So kind of in tune with what Karen was saying, I saw a video by Gary V, okay, the Mr. Digital Social Leader, right? And I posted it in the chat because I found it and shared it with you guys. And he said that Generation Alpha which I had to look that up. That's like the next upcoming young group. Generation Alpha is going the reverse. Like they don't want all the social media. They don't want all the digital screen time. And he's like, there is a new trend where people are hiring people to walk with them because they need personal connection. So, you know, I like anxiety around not doing enough social media, not posting every day, not doing story polls, blah, 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 right? It never goes away. That anxiety never goes away. And looking at, you know, our business, I've been, as probably a lot of you guys in the room, a realtor for over 20 years. So I've got this sphere of influence, and I've maybe not loved on them the way that I did the first 5 years or the first 10 years that I was a realtor. So I went to Target today. I bought myself some note cards, you know, and I went out and I made myself some QR codes to put in there, you know, and it's just it just says follow us, because I feel like there's so many people in my sphere of influence that aren't opening up my emails. I send emails every week. You know, I'm on social media, but they're not there with me. So I thought, well, let's just start with a follow me, which is just my link tree. And then I did an Anthony Malfronte, and I got myself some stickers to give him a little sticker of the state of Georgia. But, you know, just kind of going back to personal connection, because I feel like I've lost that.
I love the fact that you are, I mean, I'm sitting here drooling right now because I can't wait until we get to that point that they just want real humans.
Yeah.
Because I'm watching things on television right now and things in social right now, and I'm feeling very nervous that I'm never ever going to trust anything again unless you're actually standing in front of me. You know, to me, it's kind of like talking to someone overseas and I really can't understand what they're saying. It's like, just give me someone in the United States that speaks English. You know, I'd be so happy for that. And I just love the fact that we could get to that point.
I think we're there. I've had a lot
I do
more
too.
lunches with friends, past clients, just reaching out to people. Mostly for me right now, it's women over the age of, you know, new to empty nesting or whatever. And when you actually sit down and talk to them, they miss that. They feel lost. They want interaction with people. So it's been very, I don't know how much it's helped my business, but it's definitely helped those relationships.
I think it's
They're
going to
not
help
gonna
your
forget
business
it.
a lot. And if you don't mind, if you can drop where you got your stickers from, that would be
Oh
awesome.
yeah. Well,
I
and you
love
can
Anthony,
custom
by the
that
way.
sticker
He's great.
I think I love what you were saying, Connie. I think and you know, to support what Terry's hoping for, I think we are there. I think what's happening is what's loudest is what gets our attention, but that's not everything. And I was listening to a podcast episode recently, and this woman was talking about Alex Hormozy, right? We all know who Alex Hormozy is. He has, you know, like he just had like $100 million day or something, like all this stuff. And this woman said, you know, I was at this event with these very successful entrepreneurs, and I said, you know, Alex Hormozy, and they're like, who? And so it just goes to show you that even, you know, and he's got like 80 bajillion followers, but not everybody even knew who he was. And so it's being shoved down our throats because, right, let me sell you this and let me sell you that, and here's how you do it and whatever. And yes, we got to learn, but that doesn't mean that everybody is in it. It's just, that's just the noise that we're hearing right now. So there's plenty of people that don't care, don't want to be human. They want to meet, you know, Connie for coffee or lunch, and they want to meet you too, Terry. So
I
there you
love
go.
A
that.
red
And
car
you're
is
right.
the only red cars, right?
Right.
Seriously. I mean, we just are realtors, and anything that has to do with real estate, that's all we hear. And that's our fault. So
Well, we all have some conferences coming up, and I know I look at the speakers and I go, well, okay, don't know who that is, don't know who that is. And then occasionally one of my hyper entrepreneurial badassy people that I know, they'll be like, oh yeah, you know, I'm going to this one. I'm Cody Sanchez, for example. That's like an Alex Hormozy thing. And I'm like, that's great, but I don't know if that's my wheelhouse, right? Just because it's on trend. I'm more like, know what I want to learn right now. So when I go to conferences, I'm like, this is where I want to go, but I'm really going to network with the macro, as I say, the macro, and then the smaller, meetups and whatnot. And I think those are so powerful at this stage, and I think we all want more of this companionship versus, oh, I'm watching you on, a story or a reel. Like, I have muted more people in the last month and a half from my stories and stuff than I ever have.
I'd be funny farm material if we didn't have Zoom. So, I mean, this is as close as I get to touching you all, if you want to say that. But
Well, I know
I had a question for Cam, because Cam, last time I saw you was probably a year ago that we had a conversation, and you were still working on your postcards. But just based on the conversations we've all just had, now I was thinking about stopping possibly or slowing down my postcard thing. And now I'm thinking maybe I should ramp it up. So what are you doing for postcards?
Yeah, so there's a couple of different schools of thought with postcards. One is more of a spray and pray, meaning you're sending them out to zip codes or entire, neighborhoods, hundreds, if not thousands at a time. And I've moved away from that. Not that that doesn't work, but it's more expensive, and it tends to be a longer play. And so what I tend to focus on is more of a tactical approach, to where it's a very targeted, bespoke mailing piece that is personalized to the individual household, if not a person in the individual household. And like Michele mentioned, tying it all together with a trackable QR code and, if possible, some type of a 60-second video that's talking directly to that person, to that recipient, with a call to action. And then from there, depending on your mailing list, you could mail one card or you could mail several hundred, depending on whether you're going after a certain demographic or if you're farming a particular neighborhood or area. But then based on the response of that particular mailer, then you can kind of pivot and do different things, whether that is send them a follow-up email, do a door knock. If you have their email address, you could certainly combine the postcard campaign with a Facebook ads campaign. So when they receive the postcard in the mail, coincidentally, they're also receiving a Facebook ad in their feed, those kinds of things. So I tend to treat it just like any other digital channel. I'm not big on social. I'm a secret agent. I essentially have no social presence. And so that's just kind of what I've developed as a niche. And but what most people don't realize is direct mail is more trackable than anything on social. And for example, you could post a video on YouTube, you could post a Facebook ad or a post, and you won't know who looked at that video. You might get to see that somebody saw the video. You might get to see for how long they watched the video, but you don't necessarily know exactly who it was that watched the video. Whereas with today's technology, with direct mail, by way of a dynamic trackable QR code, you can track exactly who scanned and watched your video off your, I call it a talking head postcard. And from there, you can kind of strategize on how you want to follow up with that person. 99% of the people don't know that that they scanned the code. So you just have to, you don't want to pick up the phone and call them immediately and say, hey, I saw you just scanned the code. That would be silly. But what they're doing is they're raising their hand to say, hey, this person was interested in whatever is the subject matter of that postcard. And so I should follow up with them somehow, whether that's a door knock or another postcard or an email or a text message, whatever it might be. But that's kind of what I do now, is I don't go after mass volume. I just go tactically after individual households. It's just a lot cheaper and more effective.
Terry, you're muted.
Oh,
There we go. One of the things that I sent cards out to were people who had 4 bedrooms or more. And I sent them downsizing specific postcards, and I had a series of 3 of them that I sent out. But I mean, to your point, without the dynamic code, for all I know, they all hit the trash. So is that something that, say I'm only sending 50 of those out, it makes sense to put some kind of dynamic code on there and mail them? And is that code just like simply a QR code, or like, that's probably something that I'm guessing all of us could use your guidance on. And are you using them like for listings, and are you getting listings from the people that you're sending your dynamic code to?
yeah. I mean, first of all, not all QR codes are created equal. So you want to be using the right type of QR code that is trackable back to the recipient. So you don't want to like download one off Canva or just create a free one, because yes, it will work and it will get them to their destination, but you won't know who scanned it, which is useful, but not that useful. And then in terms of, what I use them for, I'm at a stage of my career where I'm not necessarily going after farming a new neighborhood. So I tend to do more SOI stuff, or, farms that I've already targeted in the past or have had listings in the past. I'll use them for new listings just to invite neighbors to a private open house ahead of time, things like that. To give you an extreme example, I farmed a neighborhood, which is a luxury gated community here where I live. And I only sent out, I think it was 74 mailers. And that resulted in 2 listings for a total of $35 million, 2 listings, which, not saying that that would work in every
I see Sandra like
every
talking.
area. What's that?
Sandra, I think
You don't
Sandra,
want to hear what I just said.
I read your lips. Cam is in Park City.
Yeah, I'm in the Park City area, so we're predominantly luxury. Um, but that's an extreme example. That doesn't happen all the time. But they're useful not for just doing farming postcards. It could be, Michelle's big on probate, so you could be sending individual cards out to a very targeted list that is not necessarily all in one neighborhood, and you could be sending them out one at a time as the timing dictates. So again, it's just more of a tactical approach. With the technology of direct mail these days, you can send one postcard out. You don't have to buy an entire zip code with every door direct mail, or send out 2,000 as a minimum that the printer requires. You can literally send one out that's personalized to that individual. And if you do it correctly, or one tactic I use, everyone talks about the handwritten notes. Handwritten notes, in my opinion, are the best thing ever. But I know myself enough to know, by the time I get around to writing a handwritten note, whatever I was writing it about, odds are, the subject matter is old, or it just doesn't get out the door. So I use a really simple tactic. I handwrite a note. I take a photo of it. I upload it to Canva, remove the background, and put it on the card as an image. And if you do it correctly, it looks like a handwritten note. And no one ever knows that you didn't write it. It looks exactly like a handwritten note, but you do it once and the card's built, and there's your handwritten note.
Okay, I just did a mic drop.
Yeah.
That's huge.
I did that I did my Christmas cards last year, and I only sent them out to 200, kind of my top 200.
Oh my God.
And I handwrote a fairly generic note, so I didn't put their individual name on it, but I let the personalization on the front of the card talk to that, and then just a very simple handwritten note with a scratchy arrow that said, "Scan here for your own for a personal message. And it was to a happy holidays video. I sent out 200. It got a 93% scan rate,
Wow.
which is unheard of. But everybody thought that I sent them a handwritten Christmas card.
That's amazing.
That's crazy good. And Cam, to the other extreme, so what was the total of 35 million in listings, right? Okay. So because of Cam, and he and I chat frequently, I did a postcard with a QR code, not this dynamic one as much, but it was hooked up to Lofty. Sent it out to, I don't know, I sent out like, I don't know, 30, maybe 25 postcards to probate properties in July, and one of them hit. And they put all their information into Lofty. He called me. We got it listed and it closed on Friday. Now, it was a very low price property. I just flat feed it. But that's when I was like, ding, ding, ding. I like this a lot. So Cam's on to something big with
Well, the
this.
other
Yeah, I
thing
mean,
that
if
Michelle,
anyone's interested, Michelle, we can kind of
Yeah,
throw it on your calendar, and we could
absolutely.
do
Well,
like a 15-minute challenge where everybody can send out a postcard or something like that and see
Oh, I
how it
love
all
it.
works.
what
Let's
was
do
the
it.
name of the handwritten card service that
It's
you're
not a
using?
handwritten card service. It's just it's a workaround essentially. So I have my own direct mail agency, which if you're interested, just reach out. I'll send you that info. But it's not, there are handwritten card services out there, but they tend to charge more per piece and so forth. So this is just my workaround
Mm.
to be able to do a handwritten note, or at least
So you're
create the
just
illusion
doing
of a
it,
handwritten note.
like
Just,
Connie, you use Canva, right?
yeah, Canva or any
Yeah.
image editing software these days, you can remove the background. So you just write your note on a piece of paper, and then just literally take a photo of it. Make sure that there's no shadow on the paper, but just take a photo of it and upload that photo into Canva, and then just use the remove background tool, and then
Wow.
save it as a transparent PNG.
Right.
Awesome.
And then that's your image. And then when you're, building your postcard, you can just add that image where you would normally handwrite the note.
and you're on to something because Michelle and I talked about, a lot of people, people don't usually do a lot of direct mail. And the other thing is email, because I've been doing a lot of email campaign, and I'm going to tell you, I'm getting 40% open rate.
Yeah,
People are opening email. I think just because we're bombarded, we hate email.
yeah.
But people are back, I'm telling you. I mean, to have that high, I told Michelle, I got 51% because I use constant contact, like 51% open rate on this one particular email. So, and they've been high. So I'm telling you, they read email. So that and direct mail, I think is, I
Well,
think
yeah, and like Connie said, she got her idea for the stickers, which actually I use Sticker Mule for my Boca stickers. Melafonte, he's the one who got me. I saw him at Rebar Camp at Florida Association of Realtors 4 years ago, and he was talking about his weekly email newsletter, and that's when I started doing my weekly email newsletter. And you know what? It gets you in front of people, and it's all like, and now with ChatGPT, y'all, I have it set up that on Wednesdays I get an email saying all the weekly events are ready, and includes the websites. I copy paste it and it goes right into that weekly newsletter. And then when that goes out, I use something called MailerLite. And when that goes out, then I can take the URL for the PDF and I just copy and paste it and put it right on my weekend events tab on Boca. So I'm kind of directing. I've definitely gotten leads and referrals from that website and things like that. But more so than anything, it gets me in front of people, and I can get that my real estate stuff in front of them as well.
Yeah, I think I think the trick is there's no one silver bullet. You just kind of you use all of these different channels and mix and match them, and that will give you more lift in your overall response rate. And while I'm on here, you mentioned old school meets new school. Here's another thing that I did, which went over really well. So I don't know if you can see that. It's a 3D printed cookie cutter, and I made dog cookies. I figure the best way to get to someone's heart is through their kids or through their pets. And so I just made I have a dog cookie recipe, and I use these branded real logo cookie cutters, and we just made dog cookies and drop them off to people that
Can you
have
put that up again? I
dogs.
just made you the spotlight. Can you show that
Oh.
again? Oh, wow. Ah,
I have one that's actually in the shape of a dog bone, but
That's cool.
I can't find it right now.
that's,
Yeah.
and how did you get that?
This is just done with a 3D printer.
Oh, wow.
And then you can just you make the cookie mix or whatever, roll it out, and then just boom, 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 boom. Works out to like 2 or 3 cents per cookie.
I just finished packaging up all of my Halloween cards for everybody's kids with stickers. I've been running around to different dollar stores getting different stickers, and they all get a Halloween card with 20 stickers in it or whatever. It'll keep them busy for 5 minutes, and their parents will be grateful.
Yeah. There's so much you can do. This is another one. Sandra mentioned refrigerator magnets. This is a refrigerator magnet with a QR code that goes to a chat bot that I made. That is a recipe. It's just the gift that keeps on giving. You basically scan it, enter in the ingredients that you got laying around in your fridge, and it'll come up with 5 gourmet recipes for all the leftovers you've got in your fridge.
No way.
I love that.
Oh my God. That's
Okay,
brilliant.
so we could be talking about videos, but instead here we are again talking about food and bakery items. I love it.
Hey, Michele, I was thinking of one other thing earlier when we were talking about, and I think one of the things that, with our age is, not only the health issues and taking care of our parents, possibly, but also being able to afford to take that time off.
Yeah.
So how are you prepping for that? And I can tell you that, just having a pretty strict financial education, I guess, and having the tools and using the tools. I mean, I was able to get through 3 years of cancer, moving across country and back with, no business once I got there, coming back here and, having very little business. And now I'm on year 6 taking care of my mother. And, this month I've got 5 doctor's appointments with her, and I'm in PT 3 days a week myself. So, when you start thinking about what can come up for you in the next few years or whatever, or as your parents age, are you financially prepared to take that time off? So maybe that's something that people have some ideas of.
Well, I think what we can do is tap into Andy a little bit for another one of these meetings, because he's very astute with this as well, which we know from Clubhouse. So I love everything we talked about today. I'd like to have a hard stop at 4, if that's okay. I hope this is what you thought it would be, to give ideas, old school, new school, talk a little bit about what we are working with, dealing with. And then I'm going to send out an email, maybe with a poll in it, just to see what you all would like to see next, because I want to do this every other week. I think we've got plenty of other things that we're doing. So I want this to be more of a buffer, so that, like, this is our space, every other week. I will be on the Real podcast on Friday. They're going to record. So we're going to be putting some stuff out there. And then, of course, if anybody is going to any conferences, not just our RISE conference, but any conferences, I'd love to be able to do a Prime meetup. I know Megan does a military meetup when she's at conferences, etc. So hi, Jennifer Goodman.
I was just
hi,
fixing
doll.
to say that. I'm like, look who just showed
Goodman is in the
Right.
house. So yeah, so I appreciate you guys taking the time today, and I'm open to suggestions, ideas, and guests. I want to have some guests on here that are smarter than us. So let me know. Feel free to reach out. I'm open to ideas and suggestions and whatnot. So does anybody else have any last parting words?
Just wanted to say, so October has 3 Wednesdays.
I have no idea.
Well, I'm telling you, it has, every other week would have you on 3 Wednesdays. So you want it every other week, or do
I'll
you?
figure that out. I'll
Okay.
figure that out. Yeah, but
Yeah,
thanks
look
for
at the
reminding me.
calendar and
I
also
hate that.
it's the first week here at Rise.
Yes.
Assuming, so yeah, let us know.
Perfect. Thank you for sharing that. Oh, Andy had his hand raised, or did he leave?
He's there.
Oh, there he is. Go ahead, Andy.
Yeah, so I'm in a way going to be passing the mic over to Karen because, so when is the conference in Ashburn? When is that?
It's
Next
coming
week.
I know.
Tuesday. It's Tuesday, October 7th. Andy, if you want to give me your email address, I'll email you.
Yes, it's Andy at dchomes.com, dchomes.com.
Okay.
And the reason I bring Karen into this, and especially with all the discussions about AI, and interestingly, Karen and I have mutual friends and acquaintances, but we're in the same market and have never met. But in any case, if you're flying in for the conference, one of the things that you'll see as probably if you're flying into Dulles, that as the plane drops through the clouds, you're going to see these massive structures below you before the plane touches down. And those are data,
Yep.
and those are data centers. And the area that we live and work in is nicknamed a data center alley because there are now 200 data centers in our county with 100 more permitted. And so, we talk about relationships and look, my business is all about relationships and almost nothing with AI. But there is no way that Karen and I can inhale and exhale each day without bumping into something having to do with AI and data centers. And so that would be a topic for a whole other call. In a sense, how do you keep your business focused on relationships when truly the future is AI? I mean, as much as we would feel uncomfortable by it and bemoan it and wish that we didn't have to change because of it, it is the elephant in the room. So I'll kind of say that.
Yep. Well, I
Thank you,
appreciate it.
This is going to be fun. Thank you.
Thanks all for taking the time today. I know it's a busy time. And we'll see some of you in Clubhouse and some of you next week and some of you in November.
Woo!
See ya. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.